Hello everyone, this is Mr. Marr with a talk-through tutorial for Activity 1. I want to also highlight the written instructions for these assignments. They are attached to the assignments in Classroom for those of you who are my students. For everyone else, these instruction files will be available in the ebook that should be coming out hopefully this year or next year. So the first thing that we're going to do is check the instructions here for the first step, which is to download the demo project .mid and .wav files. So if you're not sure what that is, you can check the information below. A .mid or a MIDI file is a musical instrument digital interface. Files are just sets of notes and rhythms, and they require a virtual instrument or a synthesizer to play them. So if you try to play a MIDI file, it's probably not going to work because it needs a program to tell it what sound it's going to be, things like that. WAV files and also MP3s are actual audio recordings of real sound. So you could play those in any MP3 audio player. They also play in the programs we're going to be using. So let's start there. This step has been a little more complicated than I wanted it to be, for the main reason that generally when you download a number of files from Google Drive, it puts them in a zip file. So here's what you'll do. Click Activity 1. Click the download option here. So now it's saying prepare download, zipping one file. So a zip file is like a compressed, locked file. And on Chromebook, they actually make it kind of confusing about how to get these the files out of the zip file. So what you'll do is show in folder. It should be in your downloads folder. And you can see right here, I've got this. On PC or Mac, usually you can extract, and that's an option, and that will extract the files out of the folder, take them out, put them somewhere else. If you can't do that, again on Chromebook, I am not sure how to unlock zip files yet, so this has been the workaround. Double click on the folder. Should get this folder here. It says Activity 1. Double click on that folder, and now you see the files. If you try to take these out right now, it's not going to work. They need to be outside of the zip file first for them to be accessible. So click the file window here. Just make sure you're selecting what's in this screen. Press Control A to select everything, and then press Control C to copy. So first Control A to select, then Control C to copy. I would suggest going back to your downloads folder, and on Chromebook there's usually like right here there's usually like 3 dots. You can click that and click new folder. For me, since this is a PC, I just have this new folder button, so I can click that. I'm going to call it A1, and then I'm going to paste those files in the folder. So that was a lot of work to do something very simple. So the goal of this project is to get all of the files into Soundtrap so they're all perfectly aligned to the beat and to each other. That's the goal. So let's check back to our instructions. Now that we have the files downloaded and accessible, step 2 is to import the first 2 tracks. First the drum track and also the piano track. Also want to point out there are actually 2 drum patterns for the drum track. Both are MIDI files, so you will need to set the sound for the virtual instruments. To do that, I'm going to go over to Soundtrap. I'm going to click Import File. So I'm going to start by going to this new A1 folder, and I'm just going to import all 3 of my MIDI files. I've been a little forgiving on grading this part. Technically, the way this is supposed to work is the drum line, the drum track should be right next to each other, so that the drums are actually playing for the whole track. So I've got them set up correctly now. You can put these in whichever order that you want. I'm going to delete this track, so now I just have them both right next to each other. So if I press play, I should be able to hear it. There we go. So I had the volume down, my headphones couldn't hear anything. But luckily that's the only thing that's wrong. And okay, cool. All right. So what you'll want to do is actually change the sounds for these instruments. That's one of the things that's interesting about a MIDI file, is that you can make it sound like anything your program is capable of. So I'm going to click to drums. For the example in the demo, I think I picked something from the Machines. That's going to be like a electronic type sound. Right now it's set on a kit, which is a like acoustic type drum set, more like for kind of live band music. But you can click through a couple of these. Sure, I'll go with that. Just make it sound a little different. And then for the piano, right now it's a Rhodes, which is like an electric piano. And I'm going to want to set that to something that sounds more like the original track, which is more like a grand piano. There's a few different piano sounds that could work fine. Probably not electric. But these like live piano sounds, like the dark upright, dusty piano, grand piano, even grandma's piano could work fine. So let's just listen to how that's changed the sound so far. Yeah, I really like that actually, especially at the tempo that it's at now, but we're gonna change that. So let's click back over to the instructions. We've got our MIDI tracks imported. So next we're gonna add the audio files. So what you'll notice is that MIDI files, they can actually stretch to whatever the project is set to. The tempo right here at the bottom, that's gonna determine how fast the project is. And MIDI files will just stretch to whatever tempo you set, and it's pretty easy for it to do that. Audio files are different. Audio files are set to one specific speed, so if you don't have your BPM set correctly before you add the files, they won't line up. So what it says here is set your tempo or BPM to match the demo project's tempo, and you can see that it's actually listed right here at the end of the file name, 156 BPM. So I'm going to set my tempo to 156. Click confirm. And now it should sound like the tempo that you've heard at the beginning of this video, and also in the tutorial for activity 1. Cool. Yeah, sounds great. So I'm going to now finish this out by importing the other sounds. And you can see, since I set my tempo correctly, these are all exactly where they should be. So now I'm going to press play. And at this point, I would consider that done and fine. This, everything is aligned to the track. The beats are all, aligned to each other, so everything's sounding correct. Couple little things you might want to do to make this just a little better is check and see what these different audio files are. So first, what we have here is a clap. So it's just literally the sound of clapping. That's actually the sound of me clapping. That I sampled and recorded. Might have added some effects to. So to use this clap effectively, we want it to actually play a rhythm. So this is pretty complicated, but if you can find the third beat in each bar, that's pretty much where it's going to sound good. So I'm counting kind of these grid lines, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just checking the number at the top, 1, 2, 3. Yep, there we go. 1, 2, 3, so forth. So it's finding the number and then the third line. This, I mean, you don't have to do it there, but that's kind of how it fits in the project. So now I've got my clap rhythm. I'm gonna turn up the volume on that a little bit. So it actually layers with the snare drum sound and blends with that. This is a pretty common kind of thing to do with snare drums and claps. They usually play similar beats. Next, we've got this track. All right, and it seems like it's acting a little funny right now. Not really sure what's going on. There we go. So I think I did something with the rewind that it got confused about. I'm going to press play on this. So that's, we would call that a sweep, or, you know, effects, an effect sound. I used the Novation Circuit tracks to make this sound. So this is actually a sound I created on a synthesizer. It's usually good for transitions. So we're going to kind of put it in the middle here. So it's kind of switching between the two parts of the track. Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. I might even move that over just a little bit. But you know, this can kind of go in a lot of different places. Depends on what sounds good to you. Here I have a synth pad. So this was also created using the Novation Circuit Tracks synthesizer. So I programmed a synthesizer patch and added some little glitchy sounds, recorded the pattern. And then here I have an 808 pattern. And for that, I created a kick sample using a synthesizer and then imported it into a program called Sublab. Yeah, Sublab. And Sublab makes great 808 sounds. So these 4 audio files, the reason why I can share them with all of you is they are sounds that I made personally myself. If I were going to take someone else's samples or something that I bought or found online, I wouldn't be able to share that with you because it's not mine. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. We're looking mostly at how MIDI files and audio files fit in a computer program like DAW, like Soundtrap, how they kind of fit to the project in different ways and kind of have different functions sometimes. So hopefully that makes sense. Once you're done this, you can call it A1 for activity 1 just to keep things simple, and then press save. So there's 2 ways you can send this to me. You can either wait for it to finish mixing here, or you can press the share button and type in my username, which is bmar, click invite. And there you go. That's activity 1. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.